Would it?
Oh,
Ooh,
hey, hey.
Here we are, the Ramble Podcast, a geek's guide to pop culture. This is our supplemental Ramble Radio. We're kind of Westminster dog showing this for you. Explain in a second.
Bit.
This is Ramble Radio 456. We are the geeks who will guide you through pop culture. I would be a comedian, Joe Roach, a podcaster, cancer fighter.
Good for you.
Right over there we have
Comedian Eddie Pence, also podcaster, among other things.
And a testicle lord. Is that kind of what you're known as on the streets?
Yeah, most people are edge lords. I'm a testicle lord.
Testicle lord. It's just
so the difference is when you edge lord, it means you go right up to the height, right to the point of orgasm and come back, right?
Right.
Testicle lord, I have someone squeeze my testicles to the point of me passing out.
Now, also,
and then they let go. That's a testicle.
Is it true that when other people try to proclaim how large their testicles are, and then you walk in, they take their hat off and sit down? Yeah, they stand up and remove their hats.
Only one person has bigger testicles than me. Ralph Garman has apparently the world's largest testicles.
Is that a true thing?
That is a true thing. The world's
largest testicles. Spread that information?
I think he spread it. I think he spread it.
So, okay, then that's like a guy giving himself a nickname.
I don't want to get into it.
Okay, all right.
All I know is I've been told they're massive.
Massive,
they're massive testicles.
Massive
hanging testicles. That's all I know.
Okay.
Haven't seen it. Can't confirm nor deny.
Just that fucking hippity size hanging down there.
Yes, he's just got one of those bouncy ball things from the 80s. The hippity hop.
You could pick up one of his nuts and play dodgeball with your friends.
It's that scene from Johnny Dangerously when they have a large scrotum syndrome. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Just carrying their balls down the hallway.
Underrated movie.
One of the most underrated movies of all time.
Johnny Dangerously. Fucking great. Fucking great. Well, we are the geeks. We're here to talk. By the way, I'm eating again. To those who are new to the podcast, I'm fighting stage 4 colorectal cancer. And we're kind of at not a point of no return, but a point where like chemo seems to be the only option, and I don't want to go back on chemo. I've done chemo three long, rough times, and so now I am starving the cancer out. So every month I will not eat for 7 days, and I'm done with round number 2.
That's rough.
Back to eating. It's fucking, dude. I ate like Andrea got these avocado potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucking terrible, I'm sure. But
I would imagine they sound awful.
So fucking good, Eddie. They tasted so fucking good. It was just like it was fuck me. It was immaculate. But today, one of the things that we both love, comic books. It's been a while. Like I still try to dabble in the X-Men stuff with Marvel, and thank God for Marvel Unlimited, because it makes it a lot easier to just kind of
it does.
But we're trying to talk to this episode. Like, what was your memory lane? What got? What
was the one that got you into comics?
What was the moment? What was your holy shit?
I'm at for life.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was.
What was your
I remember being my first introduction into superheroes.
Yes.
Was my dad worked as a Capitol Police officer.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he would come home from work late sometimes, and there would be just randomly out of the blue, he would just bring me one of those for no reason, didn't ask for anything. He'd come home and be like, "Hey, I got you something." It'd just be like one of those Mego dolls.
Oh, fuck, those are great.
Superman, Batman. Yep. It was such a weird collection of Megos. I think you had Superman, Batman, Robin, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The Incredible Hulk.
It was just a mishmash.
It was a mishmash. It wasn't DC Marvel. It was just there's some Star Trek. I didn't have the Star Treks. I just had I had Superman, Batman, Robin. I had a Spider-Man. I don't think I had the Hulk. It was just such a weird.
Him off perps.
Yeah, I think so. I think what he did, he just saw people coming out of a store and just stopped them, and search and frisk, and then just took them. These are evidence.
I need these. Oh, what are you doing with these? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of got me into it, and then So that kind of got me into superheroes, but I wasn't a comic book reader. I mean, I had those remember the 3D viewfinders where you
fucking amazing, dude.
Put them in.
I had Muppet shit with those viewfinders. It was so
I had Muppet
great.
shit. I had old Batman 66 episodes.
Yes. Yep.
And then I had some Spider-Man ones. And he can't still into comics and still into superheroes, but never read comics, right?
Do you mind if I time out real quick and interject? Why were the viewfinders such a big deal when you could just go see the fucking movie or go see that Batman TV show? Instead, you wanted to get 12 still photo images
because it was fucking 3D, man.
3D. That's it.
It was 3D.
It was 3D. That's what did it.
It was so cool looking. It was 3D. And we didn't have VCRs. I didn't have a VCR back. This was like the early 80s. So like
I don't think we got a No, I think my first VCR was in the early 80s-esque.
I think mine was like 84, 85.
Yeah, that was, I think, 84 for me. My mom's dad.
83 or 84.
My mom's boyfriend, who was like my dad, I remember he gifted us one. And I remember that was like that. Well, to sidetrack, that's what made me become a comedian. I was in kindergarten, and I was sick. Like the first time I remember like having a flu and like feeling like horribly sick that I can remember. And my mom was like, "Well, you're not going to go to school tomorrow." And I'm like, "Can I get this every day?" You know what I mean? Like this flu
this is awesome.
This is amazing. And he came in with a VHS rented of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh.
And that was that. I was just like,
that was it.
That was it. That hooked me. And then he's a lot of porn after that.
Oh, sure. Night. That's right.
A lot of porn.
You didn't want to go into porn after this?
He ridiculed how tiny my dick was.
So that probably a little camera shy. Yeah,
crush that.
That's why parents and that's why people that raise children need to prop up their kids' dreams.
Thank you.
Not squash them.
Thank you. But anyway, so carry on. I just had to. Sorry about that.
Well, I would my friend had down the street. He had a Laserdisc player. Dude. And a big screen TV, the old big screen projection TV. Remember the projection?
Man.
And he had Star Wars. He had Star Wars on a Laserdisc, and this was before I had a VCR. So we would go down to his house, and I'd like, can you put it in? Like, put Star Wars in, just please, just so I can just see the beginning.
I bet to your eyes it looked better than being in the theater.
Absolutely. And if I saw it now, I'd be like, this looks like shit.
This is garbage.
But back then, I was like, oh my God, you could watch Star Wars anytime you want.
That's right. Think about that. We had to rent it.
Right. I'm like, I didn't have a VCR. I couldn't even rent it at the time. I was like, you can just go home, watch Star Wars. Why are you not watching Star Wars every day?
Every day. Just put it on. Just every
day.
And
I made a promise to myself, like, if we ever get a VCR and I ever get Star Wars, I'm going to watch Star Wars every Friday night. I'm going to watch Star Wars like I was in the movie theater.
Fuck yeah.
And we finally got it. We finally got a VCR, and I got Star Wars. And I literally, for Friday night, for like a year and a half, I watched Star Wars every Friday.
Did you dub it? Did you rip it off from Blockbuster?
Oh, yeah.
Do that shit.
My uncle would come over.
Right?
No,
like
yeah.
You put a little piece of tape over the thing, and you just have the dual head VHS and hit record, motherfucker.
My uncle would come over. He lived in Maryland, and we were in Virginia, and he would come over like a couple times a year, and he'd bring his VCR. And then he would stay for the weekend, and we would just go to Errol's Video. We'd go to Errol's Video, which was the blockbuster of the day.
Right.
And we'd rent like 20 film, like as many movies you could rent over a 72-hour period.
Right.
And we'd just sit there and dub movies all weekend.
Oh, the best.
It was the best.
I remember you put on a VHS label, you just write down which.
Yeah, it was the best.
Movies are here.
So, it was the best.
So the Migos were the beginning for you.
Migos was the beginning, but I still didn't read the comics because I didn't read the comics. I didn't read the comics until I didn't become a comic book collector. I'd have a random comic here and there.
Yeah.
Like I'd get a Star Wars, Superman comic or Fantastic Four comic here and there, but I wasn't like into comics. I didn't collect comics. And then in 6th grade, I met a guy, my friend, he's still a friend to this day, one of my good friends to this day. He had just moved into town. He started going to my school, and I went over to his house after school one day, and he had like 2 or 3 of those white boxes full of comic books, right? You know, and I'm like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Oh, these are my comic books." And he started going. I started going through them. I started like, "Oh fuck, this is all." And the first one I pulled out was Alpha Flight #1.
Oh.
And I saw the Guardian in that red
badass fucking
white,
Canadian flag outfit.
And I started reading it, and then he had like several of the Alpha Flights, and I was reading. And then I read the one where Guardian died. I'm like, "Holy fuck, he died!" And his wife took over.
Right.
I'm like, oh fuck, and I don't know why that got me. Of like, oh, you had a comic book with the leader of your team dying, and then his wife steps up and takes over. I'm like, fuck, I'm into awesome. Alpha Flight. And then Alpha Flight, I saw Wolverine, and then the Hulk, and I started going. I knew who the Hulk was, but Wolverine got me into the X-Men. Yeah. Wolverine got me into X-Men, and that got me into X Factor, and then it got me like it just that was the rabbit hole. Alpha Flight #1 was the rabbit hole.
That's amazing, dude. Mine was Garfield. Right, my aunt, when I was like 4, my aunt would get me like some of the collected volumes,
Yeah.
And so I kind of started liking reading the strip, and then Archie comics when I was 5. That was it, right? Archie was just
Archie and Jughead.
My grandma would get me when I would go visit Laredo. She would get me like from the store. She'd be like a little 10-cent little Archie. I'd get so excited to just go read, and then, man, it was a little bit too the Masters of the Universe comics that came with the toys.
Oh yeah, sure.
And those little mini comics that came with some of the superpowers. Remember?
Yeah.
The Super Friends, or what was it? I forgot what they were called. Superpowers.
Superpowers.
Didn't they come with comics? Or am I making that up?
I think so. I remember the He-Man ones.
Yes.
But the thing always about the He-Man is because the comic was so different from the cartoon.
Completely different. Just a different universe. It's like, wait, what?
I was like, this is weird. Is it Zodak? Right. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy?
Which I guess we talked about that.
Does he have webbed feet? Does he not have webbed feet? What's going on?
Like we kind of talked about the last Ramble Radio, but maybe that is kind of excuses the absurdity of the film, because probably the movie makers like, well, who gives a shit? They don't even know what the fuck the story is.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing.
Right. But so the He-Man stuff, I swore there were little mini comics with the superpowers figures.
There might have been. I don't remember.
I'll never forget my 6th birthday. A buddy of mine from elementary school, Paul Renfro. I'll never forget this. His present to me was a small stack of comic books, and I was like, okay. And I was a little weirded out in a way, because I'm like, well, these are like magazines almost.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I remember liking Mad Magazine and shit like that. Is this like a magazine? Like, what is this? And I'd open them up, and the very first one I read, what he had gotten me, it was part of the collection, was, because there's a really cool bookstore, Half Price Books in Dallas, where you get used everything. They had used comics there. And a stack. And the very first one I read was the X-Men, Kitty Pryde gets taken by the Hellfire Club.
Oh.
And so the very first comic I read is when they try to rescue her.
Yeah.
Right. And I remembered just like the Leland guy just drops Wolverine through the ground, gets rid of him. I'm like, oh, that guy must suck. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and then I thought it was fascinating because the comic I read, they all got their asses kicked.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, they all suck. Like, what is this? Right. But that was so fascinating because you never really saw that. You never saw the heroes just blow it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and they're just outclassed, they're outmatched, they're all taken prisoner, and I'm like, okay. And then the final fucking shot of Wolverine with the claws coming out of the sewer. He's like, "You've taken your best shot. Now it's my turn." And I could not open the next issue. I was like, "Whoa!" And I was instantly hooked on Wolverine. I was instantly hooked on the X-Men. And again, it's so weird how, like, just watching the cartoons and stuff, we knew everything there was to know about Spider-Man and the Hulk and Superman and Batman and all that. But it was still such a new world watching. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm in. This is it.
Yeah, going into the origin stories of the X-Men characters and all that, all the Marvel characters. Like, of course, everybody knew Spider-Man, everybody knew Batman, Superman. Like, they knew those origin stories. But
Wonder Woman, we knew all that shit.
You just didn't know the depth of the characters and the and the expanse of each universe. And like, oh my God, there's so many stories here. Like, wow.
I mean, that shit I was like, I'm never turning back. Like, I was just, I would just be.
I remember reading, like, I would go back and they reissued they had a classic X-Men where they reissued the old ones, and
That's what he got me. It was classic. It was a classic X-Men.
Classic X-Men. Where they would just reissue the old ones. I read all those, and then you went to the whole.
You get the backstory, like, holy shit, like it was amazing.
And then when then the whole thing where an angel dies and Apocalypse turns him into Archangel, and then you have the whole muties all die thing where the whole world turns against the mutants, and you're just like, fuck, man, this is.
Then you get Days of
so
Future Past. It was just like, man, because again, like it was kind of toothless. All the cartoons we saw were kind of toothless.
Yeah,
like they were great, but nothing. And then of course, the Transformers, the movie changed all that. But like but. The comic books didn't give a fuck. Like, here, we're gonna kill these motherfuckers. Yeah. They knew we'll probably bring them back in 2 years, but
it's comic books. It's continually a second act story. You know, it's continually in the second act. So.
I remember just being blown away by that Wolverine
Right. And then just like watching, like reading, and like then when the original X-Men went over and formed X Factor, and then I was like torn between what's my favorite X-Men group? Is it X Factor or do I like Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler?
With Kitty Pryde and fucking Rogue, like, and then they gave Storm a mohawk.
Oh,
and I was like, "What's masturbating? What's that? Let me explore this.
Let's go. Let's read this.
Let's see what. Yeah, let me see more of her, so I can continue with these odd feelings, even though there's no puberty, so can't really do much with it. But
though I will have to say, Mary Jane was one of the earlier like.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane can have it.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. That fucking wedding.
You know what's weird for me was the Sorceress was my big crush from He-Man. Not Teela.
Yeah.
Not
Something about that bird head. Something about that bird head. I don't know what it was. She can have it.
A couple of urns out of that shit.
She can have it. All of it.
Fuck yeah. That's well, man. I love when we do these memory lane rambles, Eddie.
Yeah.
I go back. I'm right there. I'm in my grandmother's house.
Alpha Flight number 1, man.
That's all I needed, Eddie. When I visit my grandma, my mom or David or my dad would just throw a stack of comics in my fucking suitcase. Gorgeous. There it is.
Alpha Flight number 1.
Oh,
fuck.
That's just perfect. That's all. They knew I'd be happy. Just throw a stack, and I would just read them over and over and over, same one over and over and over again. Fucking love.
Yeah.
It. Well, as much fun as we've had, and please, we're asking, subscribe to The Ramble, 5-star rating, positive text review on wherever you get podcasts. We do have contractual.
God damn it! All right, Skeletor. We were just going down memory lane about what got us into one of our favorite hobbies of comic book collecting. I don't care to really know what your favorite hobby is, but what got you into whatever your favorite hobby was?
I'm doing my favorite hobby. It was wonderful, man.
He's a little busy. I think what he's trying to say is his favorite memory was the time he crossed through a dimensional portal, walked into a diner, and walked face first into the anal cock of such a stud, whose anal cock is in his mouth right now. I'm actually peeing from my real cock while he's sucking off my anal cock. That's how that works. He asked, I bet you're wondering where he can, do these kinds of debaucherous things without anyone in Eternia finding out.
Go ahead.
Where?
He-Man's mother's pussy. Because apparently it's so big.
We're trying to expand our subscriber base, and I don't know
how this helps.
I don't know how this helps.
Ramble, we got to talk to Ramble Corporate because this is.
I don't know how this helps.
This isn't helping at.
New people listening to the show aren't going to want to. Don't know about his anal penis. They don't. They're done. They're done. Anal penis.
Unsubscribed anal penis that Dexter has. But
I asked him one question, and he raises more questions than ever could possibly be answered.
But would episode 2 have been better if he's like, clone us, Obi? I'd bet my anal dick on it. And then
just if he could have just given us that on the way out. Cloners.
He's a cloners. I'd bet my anal dick on it.
Camino.
Fucking Obi-Wan's like, I know about that anal dick, Dex.
But there's nothing there, Dex.
No, it's there, Dex.
I bet my anal dick on it.
Could you imagine? Oh, that'd be the fucking episode 2's instantly redeemed. Instantly.
Like, I've looked at the Jedi maps and there's nothing there, Dex.
Well, I'd bet these anal cocks. I'd bet all the jizz shooting out of my anal cock right now, Obi, that it's there on Camino with a cloners on. Someone probably erased it from the map.
There's a difference between knowledge and Wisdom.
Hey, before you leave, you want to help me fuck this little robot waitress here?
She's got
this
more than
1950s flow dino waitress.
He's like, oh, Dex. And they just end it there.
And you get the little, what the wipe? Is that the Lucas scene transition? The wipe?
Yeah, they all, oh, Dex. Zoom.
Episode 2 is instantly redeemed. Instantly. God.
Instantly redeemed. Best prequel yet.
Ever. And why can't we give Cody this to follow when he's here?
I don't know.
But Cinesnob Cody at the Cinesnob Podcast.
Yes.
Give him a follow. We can right some wrongs.
Please.
We can fix a Crocodile Dundee 2 debacle. Even though it's a terrible movie, it was better than Part 3.
Better than 3. Come on, we all admit that.
And Eddie, where can all the fine folk find?
5 days a week, patreon.com, The Ralph Report. Tuesdays, Fridays, Ramble Radio. Wednesdays, Ramble Proper. And also on Fridays, Not Today with Jen Sturger.
There we go. You can find me in the same Ramble locales. You can find Eddie and Cody. I'm also streaming video games most nights. Retro Rocha on Kick and Twitch, and just my name on YouTube. Subscribe, 5-star rating, positive text review to the Ramble Podcast, or email us, ramble@theramblepod.com, or at Podcast Ramble 1 on Twitter, Podcast Ramble on Instagram, and the Ramble Tube on YouTube. Also, if you happen to be in the El Paso area, you have 3 nights to check me out. Tonight, Saturday, and Sunday, I'll be headlining the comic strip in El Paso, Texas. So get on out there. We love you all. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great fucking weekend. We will be now. We're having to, because of my El Paso trip, these rambles have been pre-recorded. So
yes,
well, they're all pre-recorded, but they're
all pre-recorded. These are
pre-recorded. So next ramble, hopefully by next ramble proper, maybe we'll have a take on Transformers 1.
Hopefully
we'll see. Or at least Fridays, next Friday. But stay safe, everybody. Have a great weekend. We will be back next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.